room, you can't move, you can't speak. It's a horrible, horrible feeling.
You know, you're looking out into the darkness and then you see a figure, but it's darker than the darkness.
I just get this like really creepy feeling, and I see this like shadowy, demon-looking figure in the front seat of the car.
She used to come into my room at night and stand right by my bed, and I just was petrified.
I remember I saw something fly by my bedroom window. We heard the bathroom door shut. So then we looked out my bedroom window down the hallway, and the bathroom door was wide open.
So we came around the bend and we saw eye shine. This thing stood up. I mean, it stood up. And it had high pointed ears. It had a snout, had a long arm, and it grabbed the deer.
Okay, guys, I am excited to welcome our next guest to Let's Get Freaky. Tonight we are joined with X. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I've had a tough day because I was attacked by wasps yesterday. So I'm down with a fever, etc., etc. I think forces want to stop me, but I'm still here, alive and kicking. I've had my chalky milk, so I'm full of energy, ready to talk.
Awesome, man. Yeah, you messaged me this morning and said, make sure you're prayed up because I've been attacked.
Yeah.
Is that because they know we're going to have this conversation?
No, that was just for dramatic effect. Actually, I was gardening.
Okay. Oh, it was actual wasps.
Yeah, I was gardening and I was busy like trimming this tree thing, and there was these physical wasps, and they just came at me out of nowhere.
Oh man,
But I've
that's
never
scary.
seen them in the area. But it's like it's just the timing of it, and how it happened. So I've talked to other people in the past as well. I think two. And both of these people that I talked to, shortly after I talked to them, shared my stuff with them, something bad happened to them. Like
Oh
1
wow.
or 2 days after. I think the one
Really?
lady's husband had a heart attack, and that was a long struggle for her. And the other guy, he's been struggling for a long time, but ever since he had me on, it's just like stuff just piled on him. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that is directly tied to me, but
Yeah.
it's been my experience all my life. When I open my mouth about these things, it's just like something hammers me and also hammers the person that I talk to. So
Wow.
that's why I say just pray up. And the way it happened with the wasps is just I've been down the whole day with a headache and a fever, and I almost canceled. But I'm like, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm not going to
Yeah.
cancel. And I'm
Yeah.
also excited to talk to you, man. Talk
No,
to a
thank you
brother
very
in
much.
the UK.
I'm excited to have you on. I've prayed up. I was about to end it there and then when you said what you just said, but no, we'll keep going. No, wow, man. So you're in Bangkok right now, is that correct?
No, I'm not in Bangkok exactly. It's just the time zone I'm in.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So if we can sort of go to the beginning for you, where did it start with the paranormal?
So with me and the paranormal, it started with my mom told me many times how hard it was for her to bear me as a baby inside her and to get me out. It's just like twice while I was in her belly. I can't remember exactly, but there were severe complications. While she was carrying me, the doctors said it's better that we abort the kid because it's just going to be complications for you and it might result in your death. My mom said no. She fought through it. I think there was a time she had to be with her legs in the air for a month or something in the hospital.
Oh
She
wow.
fought to like keep me. She really wanted to keep me. And my mother at the time was also in a faith crisis. She was like she lived a selfish life. She recently like converted, found God and stuff. So that was going on too. And then another thing happened where she almost lost me, but anyway, she soldiered through. And while this was going on, there was also severe tension between her and my dad. It's just all these things coming together, and it's like a storm in her life. And when I was born with like I think multiple diseases or some kind of general weakness of my body. I was born too early. I was in incubation tank, and the doctors told my mom to like say goodbye. He's not
Oh
gonna make it.
man.
And my mom with a nurse that was also like very, let's say, very religious, very spiritual. Just my mom prayed through it, and she said at a moment she wasn't completely saved by then, not completely belonging to God, but she like made a deal with God, like if you let him live, you can have him, something like that. And I made a miraculous recovery overnight. Just
Oh
my vitals
wow.
started coming back, and my vitals started coming back, and it was a little bit shaky, but eventually I grew up normally. But all through my life, there's been these accidents, just these near death misses, etc., etc. Car accidents, just ridiculous, ridiculous. It's like Final Destination stuff.
Yeah.
Pile on that the paranormal attacks that just came out of nowhere. They started around about 2005. They became severe, but before that, there were like these weird things happening. The earliest one I can remember, I think I shared the visuals with you.
Yeah.
I don't know which one was first. Like, I remember a very vivid dream I had about like being with Christ in the sky on the clouds, like high above the sky. We were in the clouds. It was daytime, and me and Christ, we were playing with the clouds. We were scooping up the clouds and just playing with the clouds with each other. That might have been my first ever experience because I vividly remember it. The other one was a very dark experience. This one was, I remember I was sleeping with my mom and dad because a presence kept bothering me. I felt very scared. I thought it was just like, typical. As a kid, I reasoned, this is just me being small. I'm just scared. So I went to sleep with my mom and dad that night. And as I was sleeping, I was just like, it's very hard for me to fall asleep because this thing, it felt like it was standing at the door and it just was hounding me. Anyway, at some point during the night, my soul left my body and I was in a fetal position and I had no idea what was going on. I was like maybe 5-ish, 7-ish, around about there. And in a fetal position, I drifted up out of my body to the left of the room. I drifted out. It was like I had no control. It was like something was steering me. And it was fully visceral. It was like literal. It felt extremely real. Someone who's had out of body experience knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm floating out of the room, down the, what do you guys call it? Passageway?
Yeah.
Hallway?
The hallway. Yeah. Yeah. Or passageway. Yeah.
Afrikaans, we call it a gang.
Okay.
And then I drifted into the bathroom and I thought like, okay, so this is where I'm gonna stay, I can't go. But then I did go through the railings, the bars of the window. I floated
Wow.
through that. I can still remember what it felt like for my body to go through that metal, and I just went through that. I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm dead. I'm dying. I died with my next to my parents in the bed, and I was floating outside, and I was in the middle of the backyard, and I started to float up because I thought I was dying, so I thought I'm going to heaven, and I think that thought was me telling my spirit, go up. So later in life, I realized how I can control the out of body experience. But subliminally, I told myself, "Oh, I must be going to heaven." So I started floating up. Of course, at this moment, I have no idea what's going on. Someone who's had out of body experiences know what I'm talking about right now, because there's like a weird way you can control the experience. So I started floating up, and as I'm floating up, my eye catches something in the distance. So I look at it, and it's just this dark mass moving down the streets. And very weird in the out of body experience is that uh, you can have like eagle eye vision. It's like your vision can zoom in and zoom out. There's weird 360-degree awareness stuff that can happen when you are in the out of body experience. You can like teleport here, there, you can fly around, you can change your size, etc. But it's like when I was floating upwards, I saw this thing and it's like my vision zoomed to it because it looked dark and scary. I wanted to know what that was. So my vision zoomed, I saw what it was. and it was just, it had like an animal skull. I thought it's a horse skull or a goat skull, and it had this really broad shoulders, and like it was either covered in shadow or it had a very dark cloak, and it was just sprinting through the streets. I don't know where. It was like it's running around the streets of this small desert town in Namibia, and this thing's running around, but with me zooming in on it, it was like able to sense me. And at that moment, it looked at me and let out this scream, this like sky piercing scream. It noticed me and it changed direction, and it was running toward my house, toward where I am. I don't know why the stupid thing didn't fly. I don't know. There's weird spiritual rules in that dimension. It was, for some reason, it had to, or it wanted to, or it preferred to follow the roads. So it was running down the roads on its way to reach me. And that's when I started to panic. My vision zoomed back to me. I was still in the fetal position, floating around as a spirit. And it's like, I just thought, I don't want to be close to that thing. So my spirit's still floating, started to veer away from it. But the other direction was this tree in my backyard. It's this weird, gnarly, dry, dark tree that's always full of bugs and spiders. Nobody climbed in it. It's just so thick with branches and stuff. I hated that tree. That tree looked like a nightmare at night. But I was floating to this tree in this spiritual dead state with God knows what other ghosts and stuff are running around. And my spirit was floating towards this tree, and I hated this tree. And as I was floating toward this tree, nearing the branches, I think that's what saved me, is that thought that I want to go back. I don't want this. And that thought, that psychic stimulation, popped me back into my body, just like a rubber band. I
Yeah.
snapped back into my body. I woke up in a sweat. I looked around me, and for years I suppressed that. It's only when the out of body experiences came back in the future that I thought back about that, and I'm like, oh crap! So that's where it started. So either it's like me with my mom making a deal with God, or it was this meeting with God, and I had like this weird affinity, this weird quantum connection to Jesus Christ, God, Creator, the one God, or it was this thing that noticed me. One of these things, or all of these things, that put like a target on me for the rest of my life. So I think that's where it started.
Yeah. Can I
I
ask you?
have
You might have said, but how old was you when that experience happened?
I don't know how old I was. I was young. I was
Yeah.
young. I think around 7 or younger.
Yeah. Wow, man.
4 to 7, around there. Yeah.
When you was coming out of your body, could you see yourself laying there still? Like, could you see?
No. To this date, I haven't been able to look back and inspect my body. There's
Okay.
actually a medical thing that's wrong with me, and I've heard from someone that it's possible for you to leave your body and look back at your body and actually do stuff to fix stuff inside your body. I haven't been able to do that. Another story is that I did at some point realize I could leave my body, and I started experimenting with how to control this, how to do that. But for some reason, it was around about 2019, 2018, an entity showed up in my room, and that thing attacked me as a direct response to me learning too much. So I'm going into the
Wow.
second heaven, I'm going into the spirit world, but I'm not going in there for astral sex. I'm not going in there to learn magic. I'm not going in there to find dark knowledge. I went in there as a Christian, to learn how to control it, because to date I've suffered around about 300 different sleep paralysis attacks. Sometimes they leave physical damage. So I needed to find a way to defend myself. But I was entering that dimension as a Christian, looking for answers and how to control. And once I would have like found a way to control it, I would have like went further to see, okay, like how can God use me in this state? But when that entity, it was like a mass of tentacles. When that thing showed up, it showed up and it told me that I am, it pronounced its name. it couldn't speak English very well, which I found weird because of I'm in Asia, you know. It's maybe the
Yeah.
demons here, their English isn't good, but this thing was struggling to speak English perfectly, which was very interesting to me. But this thing was strong. It was the strongest thing I've ever came across. This thing was stronger than the tall grays, and the tall grays were strong. This thing just flung me around like a rag doll. And shortly after meeting this thing, I had my first stroke. And ever since this thing attacked me, I've had many smaller strokes. I've had to go to CT scans. I've had to go MRA scans, MRI. My life has been hell since that thing attacked me. Ever since that thing attacked me, it's been hard for me to control the out of body state, because that thing announced itself and then it said, my name is insert blank. And it said, I will kill you on your limbs.
Oh man.
This thing, oh no, it said, you have come too far. I will kill you on your limbs.
Yeah.
Right there, it's like the thing cannot construct its sentences well in English.
Yeah.
Telling me, I will kill you on your limbs. I interpreted it as, I will kill you where you stand.
Yeah, man.
And it came back a second time, where it basically let me know that it was responsible for the stroke, and it took pride in it, and it warned me again, you will not progress faster, you will not blah blah blah, and you will die soon anyway, yada yada yada.
Man.
That is, so I have a paranormal side, but I also have a very strong Christian spiritual side. I have a bachelor's degree in theology. I am a trained, qualified, experienced, I'd say pastor, but I only actually work as a youth pastor and a Christian counselor. So it's like I'm not completely occult spiritual. That's the other big, I'd say that's the 80% part of me,
Yeah.
is the theological strong stance in Christianity. And I'm going to tell you, even with all that background and all my experience in spiritual warfare, the thing, that massive tentacles that attacked me, people can see what the thing looked like to me on my Twitter page. This thing was extremely strong. I don't know what class of spirit or demon this was, but that thing scared the living.
Yeah,
I
man.
don't want to use a bad word, but that thing freaked me out. And ever since then, it's been hard to control the out of body state, but I don't want anything to do with it anymore.
So whatever.
Because,
Sorry, man.
yeah.
I was going to say, so whatever this entity was, it was attacking you because you was learning too much about whatever realm you was entering. Is that correct?
So if I understand it correctly, our dimension, the physical dimension, is the first heaven. The spirit realm, or the realm that Satan controls, is the second heaven. You'd call that the place where ghosts are, etc. You know, that's the spirit realm. And then you have heaven, which is called the third heaven. There's other people that say there's 7 heavens, blah, blah, blah. But according to me, with a solid foundational biblical stance, there's 3 heavens. So I was going into the second heaven with my Christian stuff. And the Bible says Satan is the prince of the power of the air. You can interpret that prince of the power of the air, the air dimension, the spirit world. That's his domain. And he doesn't want me to bring my Christian stuff there. Because I was beginning to do that. I thought that, hey, maybe I can like travel to this guy who's depressed and I can pray for his spirit, maybe see what's attached to him. I thought I could start doing stuff like that. But this thing that showed up, it wanted nothing to do. It wanted me to do nothing in that direction, because that was my plan. But now I'm quite content where I am now. I've channeled my attention into other arenas that I think I'm making a difference in the world now. And to anyone playing around, screwing around with the second heaven, leaving your body regularly, it's like you are a chimpanzee entering you're basically a chimpanzee entering an advanced lab. That's your enemy. It's not your natural environment. The things there are thousands of years more smarter than you. They even know what you're thinking while you are in that dimension. So I'd warn anyone to screw around. If you're going to screw around there, chances are you are being screwed around with. Wow. So and it's going to affect you. And anyone that's leaving their body regularly, there are things that notice you doing that, and every time you do it, you create a rift, and things can follow you back. It's like you are sending what's the right word? It's like you are sending a flare into the sky, and things notice that, and they come use that where you break the veil. They use to enter, and they attach to you. They attach to your room. They attach to your house. So you're bringing things through with you, which I noticed as well. I can tell those stories as well, where things followed me back.
Yeah,
So
man.
it's you're putting yourself in danger. You're putting your loved ones, your wife, your kids in danger, and you're not always going to know if it's affecting your wife or your kids, because just like me, sometimes people keep it secret. You don't know about it, and that thing could be slowly turning your kid or your wife into the occult through various means, or could be drawing them, could be working with them in their sleep, or terrifying them, intimidating them, or luring them with dark power, promise of power. You never know. So be very careful if you do this kind of thing. Many people know the term astral projection.
Yeah.
It's not our natural environment. It's a very dangerous place to go. Even though you feel like you know what you're doing, be very careful.
Can I ask you, when you're in the second heaven,
Yeah.
can I ask you visually what, this might be difficult, but visually what it looks like? Is it the same as where we are now? Do you feel like you're in the same place, but it's just there's small differences, or that might be a difficult question, but
So for me, it's because I've been basically holding on to God my whole life. But these things keep happening to me. With the more advanced practitioners of astral projection, they channel spirit guides, demons, or whatever to help and empower them and give them what they need to like extend the experience or explore further or to be able to do more things. I went in there naked. I didn't have something really guiding me or giving me like extra juice to do it. So if I'm doing it, I can leave for about under a minute or max 2 to 5 minutes. I can't do it very long because there's some kind of, it's like my battery is very low
yeah,
because I'm not calling things to help me. I'm not lending juice from them. It's just me. And the reason why I started to practice it is because every night I go to sleep, there's always like a 50% chance that I will have sleep paralysis attack. A sleep paralysis, a severe sleep paralysis attack leaves you screwed up for a day, 3 days, a week. So anybody that has had a lot of sleep paralysis attacks, you know how draining it is. It's mentally taxing, it's physically taxing.
yeah,
So I started practicing leaving my body as a way of self-defense, just to be, when I sleep, I enter that state where I'm able to leave my body. I either leave my body to play around and try things out, or I just stay in that ready state. Because if I'm in that ready state where my spirit is semi-detached from my body and I'm aware of what's going on around me spiritually, it's easier for me to react. If I feel something entering my zone, I immediately wake up, I pray, I do something, I put up some spiritual music, and then I'm in a more defensible, situation. So I'm not a super advanced astral projector, spirit traveler. I didn't like go deep into it. It's just something that's been part of me biologically. What I can tell you about what it's like. Well, if the moment you leave your body, it's like you feel yourself leaving, but you can also feel like a vibrational tingle as you detach from your physical being. There's this feeling that you are, how it's like Velcro, I'd say, in a sense, but
yeah,
it's like your whole you is your body is the Velcro, and you are the thing coming loose from your Velcro.
yeah, yeah,
Now, depending on how relaxation is very important. If you're not very relaxed and you try to leave your body, when you're not in that complete detached state, it can actually hurt. It feels like you are pulling a scab off your skin. It can hurt if all your nerves burn when you're trying to leave your body prematurely. So you have to spend at least an hour or two of relaxation. Some people can do it easier with the help of spirits guiding them or giving them extra juice. But if you're doing it as a human completely by yourself, it can be challenging. You have to go through a whole relaxation technique, whatever it is, and can take long to get loose. But once you're in there, that's where the dimensional things come in, because you might leave your body and you are right there in the spirit world version of the physical world. Like, how can I say? You're either in the spirit world that's like just over the physical world, or you're suddenly in the past, or you're suddenly in the future. It's hard to control where you end up. Sometimes you
Yeah.
leave your body and you don't know where the hell you are. Once I left my body, it's also hard to, like, you leave your body but you can't see jack. You've left your body but you just see black. And then there's tricks to, like, bring your vision, and when your vision finally comes to the fore, you can be anywhere. Once I was like what seemed to be an ice planet, and there were these weird things walking around. Once I was in a realm, it seemed to be only geometric shapes. If you've ever heard of sacred geometry. So you can end up in really weird places, and it's very hard for me, it's very hard to exit and be in my room,
Yeah.
and to see my body. I've never been able to look back and see my body. It's very hard for me to reach that dimension. I don't know how to reach that dimension. And there were times I've shot to the third heaven. I've had like heavenly experiences, but I'd caution anyone that uses astral projection to go meet God or to meet angels. You are still going into without God's permission, you're going into the second heaven, and there are pocket dimensions in the second heaven that may seem like heaven, but actually you're interacting with something that's not God. You're interacting with something that's not an angel. You can be screwed around, because once I realized that the thing in front of me was screwing around with me. So that's where the Bible talks about you have to test the spirits. You have to use what's that word? Bloody hell. See that now my English is failing me.
No problem, man. Your English is amazing, man. Your English is better than mine. As I said, I only speak one language, and
so it can get tricky. It can get tricky. There's all kinds of. I know what it feels like to stick my hand through a wall. I once was able to do that. Did you ever? You know what rusks are?
yeah,
Rusks.
like the biscuits.
So biscuits, yeah. So if you ever have like a pan of the dough that you use to bake the rusks with, before you bake it, when it's still wet, if you put your finger through that dough, that's what it felt like to me when I push my hand through a wall, and it actually got
Wow.
stuck, because I started to freak out. When I freaked out, my hand got stuck. So I had to stop the experience, get back into my body, and try again, because I couldn't get loose from the wall.
Yeah.
So there's it's like I said, it's a
Wow.
weird, freaky zoo, man. There's so many ways that it can go. Sometimes you're going to find yourself on Mars. Sometimes you're floating in space. Sometimes you're actually descending, falling into hell. Something's dragging you. So it's dangerous. Many times I've felt myself falling, and I felt like I'm going somewhere that I don't want to be. Once I felt myself falling, and I'm like, I'm just going to let it go. Let's see how far I go. Let's see where I end up. So I let myself fall, and then I felt I was somewhere. I started to float horizontally. I reached my destination, but I was floating horizontally, and I did my tricks to see where I was. And when I was able to see, there were two demons dragging me into a room that was just like lined with spikes. And I knew this was a bad thing. So as soon as I could, I yanked myself back to my body. So it can go many, many directions. Sometimes you will also be picked up by what we call aliens. Some people call them non-human intelligences. I think another word for aliens is EBEs or ETs. Many people are saying now that these things, yeah, okay, they seem alien, but there's an extra dimensional component to them.
Yeah.
They say they're from other planets, but they can do some weird dimensional stuff. So people are starting to theorize that like these things come from another dimension, not necessarily another planet.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they tend to lie, so the plot thickens. So you can go so many directions, but the last time I've been out of my body was, so that thing happened with a tentacle entity. But another time I left my body, the real last time, was when I was in a hotel with my wife. She was doing something, I think, somewhere for business or studies, and I joined her. We were in a big city. We had this nice hotel, and this room we slept in, it felt weird. Anyway, time went on, and one time she was out, and I was alone in the room. I was sleeping late, and I could clearly feel that the ghost of a young girl was with me in the room. And I was really tired, and I could feel my body. It's like this girl ghost was able to stimulate my spirit into that state where it's ready to detach from my body. Bloody hell, it's hot. Let me just turn up the aircon. Anyway, this girl ghost was stimulating my body to be able to detach easily from my body, but I resisted. I did my things where I'm like reconnecting with my body, and then she started to, like, I could feel, it's weird. I could faintly hear giggling, but it's more like I could feel the giggling. And this girl was playfully, I didn't feel any malice in there. She was slowly pushing me off the bed. Physically, I was moving on the bed. I was inching off the bed. It was trying to push me off the bed in a playful way. And it kept doing this for about an hour and a half. And I'm like, and then I'm like, okay, you know what, fine. So I lay on my back and I did my things to detach. It was very easy because this entity was making it very easy for me to detach. That's where I'm saying that sometimes entity, they lend you their juice.
Yeah.
You can get energy. Those things make it very easy for you to travel. But if you're going to entrust your spirit to something you don't know what the hell it is, that's on you. But I wanted to get to the bottom of this. And this thing helped me, or coaxed me, to leave my body. I did. And it was one of the first times I was able to leave my body, and I was in the spiritual dimension of my current location. For me, that's rare. I was in the
Okay.
hotel room. So then I'm like, oh, well, that was easy. So I walked through the wall. I was outside in the garden, look exactly like the garden of the hotel. I knew I was in current time, which is lucky because sometimes you leave your body, you're in a whole different time. You can leave your body and the next moment you are in prehistoric times. That's also possible.
Wow.
So I walked around the garden and I could feel where the little girl was. So I walked through the hotel garden and I walked to the lobby, and the little girl, she was sitting in the lobby with her back to me. And I'm like, there you are. So I walked toward her, and then boop, she pushed me back. I'm just suddenly in my body. So that's where my red lights went off. So this thing coaxed me to get out, but then it pushed me back. So I think the next step for me was to, like, try harder or something. It's like this thing was trying to train me, which was a red light for me. Because I still remember that nasty ass tentacle thing that was floating in my room that hurt me.
Yeah.
And I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to play around. I'm kind of tired. So I got up, went to eat the hotel breakfast, and that was the last time I left my body.
Wow. Can I ask you how long ago that was?
This one was about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I'm not sure. Before COVID, BC.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Wow, man. So do you think there's a spiritual battle going on the other side where some entities are trying to get us in and some are trying to keep us out? Some are trying to ruin the realm that we're in now. Do you think there's a spiritual overall battle going on between good and evil?
Yeah, definitely. And whatever the hell aliens are, they factor into it. I found pockets of Christians that focus on, like, perfecting the art of leaving your body and using it to do positive things in the second heaven. I know there are people like that. I don't want to say, maybe I'll tell you later, but if I drop names now, names of
Yeah,
groups,
that's cool,
etc.,
man. Yeah.
there might be a kid watching your show and the kid might try the thing and get
Yeah.
really, really hurt or
Yeah,
pull the
mate.
attention of something, and then I screwed up their life. There are people like that, but that's like heavy stuff. You've had to you had to have read the Bible at least twice and really understand where you are with God and what you could be facing there before you try anything like this. If you're
Yeah.
curious and interested, you need to be sure of the spiritual dynamics of reality before you attempt this. There's definitely a war going on. These people, they are experts. They say they leave their body and they what do they call it? They call it missions, where they go to a place that they feel led to, and they'd go to a church, for example. And in the spirit world, in the physical world, it'll just be a church. But in the spirit world, that church would be under heavy attack. And they would see in the spirit world, on this church is like there's a tower built on the church. In the other dimension, there's like a dark tower built on top of the church. And they would go in there and do stuff to demolish that stronghold, to like crumble it, to release that church from whatever is like binding it. Weird stuff like this. There's definitely some war going on. And I don't know if, I think the guy's name is Nathan Sieber he's working for MUFON, Mutual UFO Network. Nathan Sieber is a Christian, and he will tell you that many people that have been abducted by aliens, sometimes it's a Christian, but the aliens or whatever they are, they're not aware this guy is a Christian, this woman's a Christian, and this person would call out to Christ, or they would start like singing a hymn that they usually sing when feel like they're in danger or scared, and then the ETs would freak out and just drop the person,
Yeah.
just drop them in the field, or just the experience would completely stop. So anyone suffering from aliens, etc., and you've never given God a go, or you've been to church, but a Christian has hurt you in the past, or you find the whole idea of religion like shitty and boring, stop going to church, pick up the Bible for yourself, see for yourself what's going on in that book. Your mind's going to be blown, man. If you've read the whole book, it's like reading the Lord of the Rings. There's so much that you don't know.
Yeah.
And if you just, many times these things come to me and I barely say the name of Christ. I start saying like Jiz or G, and the thing already, just skedaddles. Just in Afrikaans, we say futsak. The thing just leaves.
Yeah.
This thing becomes so pissing scared, it just leaves. So there's power in that. Why would an ET from Mars or Jupiter or Zeta Reticuli be freaked out at the name of someone that lived a long time ago? I mean, Jesus is just a historical figure, right? There's nothing to him. There is something to that name. There is
100%.
something to that dynamic in Earth history. Why are these things scared of that name?
Yeah, for
And
sure, man.
I definitely I'd recommend to your listeners to check out Timothy Alberino,
Yes.
check out L.A. Marzulli, check out Skywatch TV, Derek Gilbert, and another favorite of mine now recently is Jesse Sebatar. They will tell you what these things are. And some people say, okay, they're from other planets, other dimensions. These people that I just mentioned will tell you that there's been a long history for thousands of years where there's been experimentations on animals and humans. The Bible said the last days will be as the days of Noah. And in the days of Noah, angels mixed their DNA with humans and animals to bring forth hybrids and teach humans technology that they were not supposed to know. So from my personal perspective, my opinion, the UFOs we see flying around, and these ETs and things, these hybrids attacking people, cryptids, I think we're just seeing the days of Noah repeat themselves. And these are hybrids. They're working with human shadow governments, and there's like a program going on to, just like the days of Noah, enslave the whole globe again. But then there's people like me. I'm pushing back. I'm experiencing stuff. I'm getting books. I'm going online. I'm learning stuff for myself. I'm reading the Bible for myself, reading Earth history for myself. I'm learning tricks. I'm learning to control spiritual dynamics, and I'm fighting back. I'm pushing back.
Yeah, man.
So that's my story. You're welcome to have your own conclusions, whoever's listening, but that's my take, and that's been my reality experience. Why are
Yeah.
these things running away from the J word?
Yeah. It's something
Yeah.
you hear so often. I've personally been in situations myself where the same thing. I've suffered. I've talked about it a lot on the show. I've suffered from sleep paralysis for a long time. Not so much now. The last couple of years, it's not. It used to be terrible. It's not as bad now. You said a few things earlier that really set something off in my mind when you said about the vibration. Because that is something that I felt like before I had my sleep paralysis attacks. The vibration was a big part of it. Feeling a vibration going through me, like a vroom, and it was a nice feeling, but it was a very strange feeling. And then I would get the attack. But I talked to someone recently that said that the vibration for them was the beginning of them leaving their body. So I found that very interesting when you said that as well, man. Because
yeah.
because I sort of feel like when I'm in that situation, I stop it, but it does feel like that is what is happening. So it's very interesting, man. But I stop it from happening. Yeah.
So yeah, I have a theory that a sleep paralysis entity cannot attack you unless my aircon is on, but I'm dying. Why is it not working?
I tell you, it's the opposite problem where I am, man. It is freezing.
Yeah.
That's why I've got a woolly hat on right now.
I have no jokes. I would strangle a baby deer if I can just live in a cold country. I hate the heat. I
Yeah.
lived in South Africa. The heat. When I moved here, I thought, oh, maybe this country is gonna be cool and nice. It's like the total opposite. It's just like 25 degrees hotter. It's like average 40 degrees Celsius and humidity 100%.
Wow.
I never
Yeah.
leave the house.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, in the
So-
UK during the summer we moan that it's too hot. During the winter we moan it's too cold. We're never happy in the UK with the weather. That's just a UK thing, I think.
I came to the UK, I think the year was 2007. Was it 2000?
Okay.
No, I'm talking crap. It was 2003. And I was looking forward to snow, rain, terrible, depressing cold. That's my favorite weather.
Yeah.
But when I came to the UK, it was summertime. It was bloody hot and humid. It sucked so bad.
Yeah.
2010, I
man.
went to America, and I was also looking forward to, because I read online, oh, it's winter there now. But when I reached there, winter just stopped. It's like
Oh,
when
man.
we reached there, I just barely saw a little bit of sleet on the sidewalk, and I completely missed the snow.
Ah.
Man, I was so upset. I've never touched snow in my life. I want to play with
Oh,
snow
wow.
one day.
Yeah,
Never
man.
touched snow.
Yeah.
Bucket list.
Well, you're welcome to do a trade with me sometime. I'll go to the hot place for a bit.
Dude, you would off yourself like on the third day living here.
Yeah.
It's so horrible. You'd have to shave that marvelous beard and everything. I
I'll trim
refuse
it
to let
down.
my beard go.
I'll trim it down. Yeah.
But back to your vibrations. Yeah, so vibrations is like, so I have a theory, the sleep paralysis entities cannot attack you unless you are already in that state of leaving your body. So anyone that has experienced a sleep paralysis attack,
Yeah.
you have experienced an out-of-body experience too.
Wow. Oh, man,
That's
that gave me
been-
goosebumps.
That you have experienced a out-of-body experience, because what happens with a sleep paralysis attack? You're being attacked and you see a thing
Yeah.
sitting on you or standing next to you. Is that thing really there in the physical world? I don't think so. I think you detach from your body just enough for that thing to interact with you.
Yeah.
But they do it in a weird way. You're having an out-of-body experience, but you're still in your body. Because I've experimented with this. I've had so many sleep paralysis attacks that I was able to fake fear. I was able to fake vulnerability. And they'd attack me and hurt me. But while they're hurting me, I was studying them. And this went on for years. When they started realizing I was studying them, it was already too late. Because I learned ways, this is going to sound weird, but it's possible for you to punch these things when they attack you. It's possible for you to kick these things when they attack you, because actually when they have you in that vulnerable position, it is actually an out-of-body experience, but they're also making themselves vulnerable.
Interesting.
If that makes sense. I'm
Yeah.
going to give you an example. So once, this is when the sleep paralysis was very severe for me. It was still early, and these things were attacking me over and over and over, and I never understood why. Now I kind of understood. I don't know if it was Grush or Lazar or someone. No, it was Stephen Greer. Stephen Greer said, according to his intel, that these UFOs, these ETs, these entities, they have means of, they have like a radar technology or ability to detect people with more spiritual energy than other people. They know if you are someone with like, if you are psychic or if you are spiritually active. They can sense that, and they can pick out their targets. That's how they pick out their targets for abduction, DNA harvesting, because there's something in your blood, there's something in your bloodline that enables those abilities. So I'm assuming there's something in my bloodline. The Tall Greys were after something. They wanted something from me, and I didn't let them have it. And so they scratched my leg up to get some DNA or some, I don't know what the hell they did, but they took something from me. So now I'm trailing off. Okay, so these things have a way to sense certain people with certain traits and abilities that they want. That might be one reason why they've been attacking me for so long. But in the early days when it was really severe, one day I was just so pissed and tired of this. I told my mom, I told my dad, I told my pastors, my counselors, my friends. I had Christian minister friends, Christian counselor friends. They all like pushed me away because it wasn't happening to them. So clearly I'm full of demons. But I've been like, I've went through all the spiritual warfare things. I've been to 2-3 different people for deliverance. Nothing happens. So it's not demonic. They are attacking me. They don't like me for some reason. Maybe they see something in my future, or they see something in my blood. Anyway, I was attacked by this bastard, and this bastard kept coming at me, this specific bastard. I think it's the guy that, the entity that it liked to take my upper jaw and my lower jaw and to move it sideways. It takes my jaw, my upper jaw, and moves it right, and my lower jaw, it's trying to break my jaw. And to this day, if I eat like a really tough steak, my jaw dislocates. It's damaged. I actually have physical damage in my jaw because of this bastard. I hated this guy, whatever it was. And sometimes these entities are actually people leaving their bodies, maybe occultists. They leave their bodies. They leave their bodies to attack people, induce fear. And do you know what adrenochrome is?
I've heard of it, but you'll have to remind me, man, because I'm not sure.
Adrenochrome, if you want to go down the adrenochrome rabbit hole, you look up Jesse Sebatar. Jesse Sebatar. Sebatar, you spell Czebotar. Jesse Sebatar is, she was the highest ranking female leader in the Illuminati. But in the 1980s, she defected. She faked that she wasn't interested in them. She escaped through a lot of drama and loss. She escaped, and they thought kind of like she's out of it. She's not going to bother us anymore. But she rejected that position. She could have had everything in the world, but she's seen everything with regards to the very deep, dark underbelly of what's going on this planet. She's seen everything. Now, and I don't know if you wanna, you might have to like silence or edit this, because this word adrenochrome will get you flagged on YouTube. So adrenochrome is basically, you have a child and you induce fear, and you do as much as you can to this child to induce fear, terror, hopelessness. Just let the child go berserk. This could induce, now use your imagination of what we're hearing about on Epstein Island. Epstein Island was a place where they harvested adrenochrome. So when the human body produces something in the pineal gland, it's basically mana, loosh, spiritual energy. And if that gland is absolutely stimulated to that point of pure terror, They rip it out of the child and then they eat it. And they drink the blood from the child that's loaded with adrenaline. Adrenochrome is basically that. It's human juiced up blood from severe abuse, severe terrorization. You drink it, and that's basically what they call the elixir of life. That's, if you drink that, if you eat that gland from someone that suffered so severely, or if you drink that blood, it unlocks your spiritual sight. You gain immense spiritual abilities. You're suddenly able to see the spirit world around you. You're able to do magic, etc. That's one way they use to power their magics, to power demons to do stuff through them. So there's the adrenochrome rabbit hole you can go down and study Jesse Sebatar. But anyway,
so this is what they say a lot of the big elites are involved in often.
That's their drug. That's the most expensive drug in the world, is drinking the blood of a terrorized child, or eating the pineal gland of a severely raped and terrorized child. That's where all these kids are going. That's the end destination. That's the caviar of the elites, and that's why it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
Right now, there's infighting in the Illuminati. There's a light side and a dark side, and the light side has lost control of the dark side, and that's why you are seeing what you're seeing in the world today. There's an infighting now because they've lost control. They've completely went drunk, like blood drunk, with the severe abuse and use of kids. And it's not only that, it's like they also consume the child after this. This grants them more, how do I, it's like they're corrupting themselves completely to be able to make them more capable vessels for these extra dimensional entities. The more corrupted they are, the more power they have. But it's also, it's like a double-edged sword. The more corrupted they are, the less effective they are against like a Christian, because a Christian is completely light. The more dark they are, the harder it is for them to get near to certain, let's say, for lack of a better term, holy people or holy places. So it's a double-edged sword for them, but they gain the power, the wealth, the influence, and they get completely hooked on that drug. So that's where it's tying into these occultists. They leave their bodies and they go to you, they terrorize you. And I think in a dimensional way, they can also drain you of like that energy, that adrenochrome also as like a less intense, but still viable way for them to literally drain your life energy. Have you ever had sleep paralysis and you felt like extremely drained and tired?
Yeah, man.
These things feed off what your pineal gland produces. So I think that's another reason why they attacked me. I think they, in my case, they wanted me out of the way, but in other people's cases, you are being drained. You are being literally eaten, sucked dry from whatever your pineal gland produces, your mana, your loosh, your spiritual energy. So there's one of the reasons why these things attack people. And anyway, this bastard's been attacking me for a long time, physically hurt me, and I was tired. This one day I was waiting for him. And that's where I learned that I could study them, because I was waiting in that ready state, and it came. But I was completely, perfectly prepared. And when it was over me or in front of me, I lunged at it with all my might. And at that moment, I tore free from my body. I didn't go through the correct relaxation procedures. So very painfully, I tore from my body, and I tried to, I tried to swing at this thing with my fist. But at that moment, tearing free from my body, I completely forgot about the entity that was pissing me off, because I was so surprised that I was experiencing this level of tearing from my body. It was like it was like leaving my body physically. All my nerves burned. It felt like something was pulling my brain out of my skull. It burned, it hurt. But the reason why I didn't snap back immediately was because of what I saw. When I looked around me, reality around me was like, do you know what wireframe looks like? Have you ever seen like an architect plan?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
like on an architect's building plan on a computer screen. It's like this wireframe. You can see the structure, but you see these like lines. You can see through the walls. You can see the whole structure, and it's like this wireframe view of the building. That's
Yeah.
what I saw. Picture basically
Wow.
everything is black, but like my bed, my chair, my window, all the props, everything around me was like wireframe, but the wireframes, the lines of everything was red and green. So I'm looking at reality. It's like I was looking at the blueprint of reality, and it consisted, for lack of a better term, of dark matter and red and green lines. And I couldn't get enough of it. I was so dumbfounded. I was able to see everything around me, but I was able to see beyond that, further away. I was able to see the whole town. It's like the architectural layout of reality was open to my eyes. And I tried to stay in that I was like lunging out of my body, and I stayed in that punch momentum, just trying to keep myself in it for as long as possible, to just study what I was seeing, because I was blown away. I knew I was seeing something because I've read like astral projection books. I was already reading up on these entities that were attacking me. There was only so much I could learn in theological seminary. Nobody had the answers. I contacted lecturers, professors. They either didn't come back to me, ignored me, or said that I needed to go see a deliverance counselor, which I already did. So I'm like, oh, okay, fine. So I went on the internet. I found whatever I could. And people leaving the body will tell you there's different heavens, different astral planes. I don't know what the hell I saw, but to me, that was the base reality, the base level of reality. It's like I was seeing the foundation of reality. Very interesting, because I was leaving my body, but so close to the physical state as well.
Yeah.
I was seeing a very strange, interesting plane. And this was not, sometimes an out-of-body experience can be a dream. There are some people that say all dreams are out-of-body experiences. That was one of the things that I was trying to verify until that tentacle entity showed up and just like discouraged me. And now some Christians listening to this, like, oh, this guy was screwing around with the demons. So when I asked God, is it okay for me to do this? He didn't answer me. He didn't tell me it was good or bad. He was just silent. And I'm an experienced dream interpreter. I have ways of hearing God and following God. I'm very versed in the Bible, and I follow all those people that I mentioned. I follow them like very closely. I have a strong foundation. But God stayed silent. It's like he was studying me to see what I was going to do. I'm vexed with this curse. I asked God many times, please stop this, but the sleep paralysis just kept coming. And I don't know if you know the story about Paul. Do you know the story about Paul the Apostle speaking about the thorn in the flesh?
No, could you tell us that?
So Paul the Apostle, he spoke in the New Testament about I'm going to paraphrase. He said, a messenger was given to me, a messenger of Satan, a thorn in my flesh. I begged the Lord many times to take it away from me, but the Lord said, my grace is sufficient for you. And so this thing was vexing Paul the Apostle, the super apostle. I think one of the strongest characters in all of Earth's spiritual history. And this thing, a messenger of Satan, that word messenger in the original language is also angel. So you can also translate it to an angel of Satan was a thorn in the side of Paul the Apostle. It kept coming back to him, irritating him, troubling him, clearly upsetting him, and he begged God to take this thing away, but God didn't. God just let it be until I think Paul said like, but the Lord responded. The Lord's answer to Paul was, my grace is sufficient for you. Very interesting. And years later, I just made this connection. But the thing that God did for me, pushed on my heart, was when the sleep paralysis attacks happened and I begged him to help me. I prayed for a solution, healing. The thing that he pushed on my heart was the topic, the concept of grace. Grace. The deeper I studied the grace of Christ, the grace of God, that mercy, that like unconditional love, the stronger I became against the sleep paralysis entities.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, but for some reason, the concept of grace, anyone suffering from sleep paralysis entities, just go and study God's grace. And I'm going to make it easy for you because I've been through the hell already. I would recommend the preacher Andrew Womack. Andrew Womack's stuff is freely available to anyone. Another guy I'd recommend, although many people would say, oh, not that guy, but I love that guy because he's just so good with the topic of grace. Go study the teachings of Joseph Prince. I think he's a Korean guy or something. And the other guy is Arthur Meintjes. Arthur Meintjes. It's not sure how to spell his. Let me quickly check on my phone what his handle is on Twitter. I will quickly tell you his handle. And that's the guy that changed it for me. Arthur Meintjes' teachings on grace. Suddenly, just the more I studied about him, the easier it became for me to deal with these entities. Where the hell is it now? I'm just
Interesting,
scrolling
man.
down my Twitter. Oh, there. Okay, so Arthur Meintjes on Twitter is at Kingdom Life Men. Kingdom Life Men. I think he wanted to
that
type
out.
Kingdom Life Ministries, but this guy is an expert on the topic of God's grace. If you are someone that's suffering from guilt feelings, you feel guilt when you have to read the Bible, you feel guilt when you go to church, you feel this guilt of sin, just that that like you try but you fail, you try but you fail, you try but you fail. If you study the topic of grace, it's going to transform your mind, your soul. It's just going to do something to you that you reach a point where you don't want to do anything wrong. It's like when you are faced with something that's very enticing. I mean, Angelina Jolie is in front of you with a thong and everything. You can go now, but when you're so grounded in God's grace, it's just like you don't want to. There's this feeling in your heart like
Yeah.
you really don't want to. You feel sickened by it.
Yeah.
Whereas someone that's like a Bible basher, that's into discipline and whipping themselves and like just like they like the guilt, they like the pain. Someone that has that relationship with God is going to be useless his whole life.
Yeah.
There's something about studying God's grace that opens up something psychic in your human being. It
Yeah.
just boosts you and you start to get the upper hand against these entities. And that's when I found like what God's grace means. You know the story of Mary and Martha in the Bible. Martha was like, Mary and Martha is with Christ. Christ is in their home. Martha is cleaning the house, washing the dishes. She's just making everything pristine and perfect for Christ. She wants to impress Christ. And Mary is just simply sitting with Christ at his feet, listening to him talk, spending time with him in friendliness and in relationship. Martha becomes pissed. She goes into the room and she's like exploding on Christ and Mary. She's saying, why the hell is Mary just sitting here? You see me working for the Lord alone, slaving, cleaning. And Christ stops her and says, Martha, this effort you're doing, this thing that you are doing to impress me, others, and yourself, this rigorous discipline, this intense asceticism where you're whipping yourself to make yourself look like a diamond statue of perfection for you're selling this fake perfect version of yourself. Christ says that's useless. Just come sit at my feet, spend time with me, pour out your heart, talk to me like a friend. Christ told Martha that Mary has chosen the better part. That's grace. Doesn't matter what you did. You could have been a one of these guys on the Epstein Island. Just go and start studying that topic of grace. Because these people that were on the Epstein Island, I guarantee you, they are being hounded by entities that they cannot fight and they cannot control. They fear for their lives. They feel the only way out is to keep the way they've been going, to keep going darker and darker because they feel safe with these dark entities. Meanwhile, that's so far from the truth. Anyway, I punched this thing, I tore from my body, and I saw like the fabric of reality. And at that point, I was like, I need help because this is just getting too much. And God put on my heart, you know what? And it's like in the weirdest ways, I would listen to songs. A song would be playing on the radio. It'd be about grace. Someone would be talking about grace. I'd hear just that word grace everywhere. It's like God was doing something psychic to me, where spiritual, I like to use the word psychic instead of spiritual because it just makes things more real, for me at least. And it's just in the weirdest ways, God let me know that you need to study this concept of grace. So bringing it back to Paul complained about this thing that he was struggling with, and God didn't take it away. God said, my grace is sufficient for you. Paul also said that the reason that this thing kept attacking him was because of exceedingly more great revelations he was receiving. So Paul is basically saying that he was developing very fast, spiritually, psychically. An angel of Satan kept attacking him, and he begged God to take this angel of Satan away, but God didn't take it away. He let it attack Paul, and he just told Paul, focus on my grace, and things will get better. What am I saying? I believe, it's my opinion, and I've spun this story to other experts in the field of Christianity, supernatural stuff, and they were kind of like, they said that makes a lot of sense. If you read that story of Paul's thorn in the flesh, I think we have a biblical account of sleep paralysis.
Interesting, man.
And how to deal with sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Grace, if you study God's grace, you're going to grow close. Oh, I'm getting like shivers now. I'm getting like electricity going through my back. I know something's up when that happens. When you study the concept of grace, you're going to connect with God on a deep, intimate, relational friend level. Mary is like this, was Christ's friend. Martha was this like real Karen. Martha was a Karen. She liked to whip herself and impress everyone. But there was another character, Lazarus. Who was Lazarus? Lazarus was one of Jesus' best friends. We don't know much about Lazarus, but Jesus loved this guy Lazarus so much that he like traveled far to Lazarus' tomb and resurrected him. So there's like 3 levels. There's like the normal Christianity, the normal religious way of just like disciplining yourself, which in my experience is useful but also useless. There's the other way where you just like, you're in a friendship level with God, and maybe you're busy with many things in your life. But then there's the Lazarus level where you're like an intimate friend of God. And I believe that's what Paul's level was. Paul was an intimate friend of God, and the gate toward that is grace. Study grace.
That's very interesting, man.
That's a weapon I can give your listeners.
Yeah, I just going off what I've experienced with sleep paralysis. I as I said, I used to get it really badly. At least once a week, I'd have an attack. I've always been, as I said to you before, I'm a Christian. I've always believed in God. I feel all my life. But in the last couple of years, it's been stronger. My faith's been stronger, I would say. I don't go to church. I don't read the Bible. You know, I would say I just believe in God. I pray and stuff like that. But my personal spiritual connection is I would say closer to God than it's probably ever been since doing this show as well, to be honest. And I still do get sleep paralysis, but it's very rare now. It's like in the last couple of years, it's been 4 or 5 times, whereas it was every week. It was a battle constantly. It could be more than once a week, you know? So it's very interesting what you're saying, and it's hitting something with me as well. That's for sure.
So in your case, how many sleep paralysis attacks have you experienced?
Oh, so many. I couldn't tell you how many because it was
Oh crap, man.
constant. Yeah, it was. We're in my
Same
old
boat.
flat where I used to live before I moved here. I had it once a week at least. It was probably more than once a week. But it was something that I just used to have. It was horrible at the time, but then I would sort of move on and just it was. I never talked about it. I never dwelled on it really. I didn't really. I thought it was a normal thing to be honest, but it was only talking to people and doing this show and learning more about it that I realised what was happening.
Yeah.
Which yeah, man. But I still get it now. I've still had it. I've had it recently, not too long ago. Um, so it's still something that's not completely gone from me, but it's very interesting what you're saying because I'm in a place now spiritually where I wasn't probably a couple of years ago. So it's interesting, man.
I think in some people's cases it might be an entity or a local occultist feeding off you, but in other cases you might feel like a very vulnerable, weak individual because this thing keeps attacking you. But the truth is they're scared of you. They're either attacking you to intimidate you and thwart your destiny, because I believe what you're doing now, whatever darkness is out there, they don't want you doing this channel. So they sensed that you were going to do something like this. So they were trying to
Interesting.
intimidate you to commit suicide or give up before you try. The other thing, some people feel impressed by this dark power and they start to how do I say, they reach out to this entity attacking them because they're enticed by this thing's power. They start to build a relationship with it. Then either themselves becomes possessed or their home becomes haunted, and they just go down in a downward spiral into the occult dark underbelly of the world. So it's like these things they have many reasons for doing what they're doing. Feeding, intimidating, or luring you deeper into darkness.
Yeah, man.
That's been my experience.
Yeah, yeah. So interesting. Can I ask you, because you said you've had we spoke before we started recording about the tall greys that you encountered.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it briefly while we've been recording, but can you tell us what happened there?
So I've had UFO experiences that I thought was just lucky, coincidental. But as things went on, it's like these things were watching me. And according to Dr. Stephen Greer, they are watching people with some spiritual activity or heightened spiritual activity. I have no way to measure myself, but I can just tell you for certain these things hate me with a passion. So they've thrown they've thrown sleep paralysis attacks at me, and I don't know if I have been abducted, but I remember I was in York, Pennsylvania, in like a rural area, and the guys, I was like there for something, and the guys were up late. It was 3 a.m. and just like the air felt so brisk, clear, and fresh, I felt like going for a 3 a.m. jog in the cornfields. Maybe that was a bad idea, but anyway, I'm jogging down this gorgeous road, and it's just like fog everywhere, and the full moon is out, and I'm jogging down this beautiful country road, 3 a.m. It's like cool, brisk. I'm running, I'm sweating, but I'm cooling down so fast. It's not hot at all. It's just amazing. But at some point, I just reached this spot that's so beautiful because the fog is creeping on the floor. It looks like you can see the road, and on the one side of the road, you just see fog. It looks like I was standing above the clouds, and I just bloody stopped, and I just took this in because I've never seen anything like this in my life. And I'm enjoying this view, and suddenly it just becomes dead silent, and my core tells me something is wrong. And I feel there's something above me. So I look up, I see nothing. I see the beautiful full moon. The next bloody moment, and dear God, I don't know how, but this thing out of the Earth's atmosphere shoots down toward me. I could say it's about the size of a 2-story house. A massive, white, shining, bright orb shoots down toward me, and it's about 30 meters away from my face. This is massive craft, but it's only there for a second, and then it shoots back through the atmosphere. It happened so fast. This craft coming down, it's a 4-second event where this craft comes down from where I can't see it above the clouds to right in front of me, and then it shoots away again.
Wow,
Sorry for the language, but I wanted
No.
to shit myself.
man. I don't blame you, man.
And I stood there for a moment and I'm like, what just happened? And then I look at the ground. The fog is gone. Like, either this thing put off energy that dissipated and evaporated all the fog in a very large area, because I looked around me, the farmlands, all the fog was gone. Like, I didn't see fog anymore. This thing's radiation or whatever energy did that. Or maybe I lost time. Maybe I was abducted. To this day, I don't have memories. Maybe that was just a 4-second event. Maybe I was protected. This thing came at me, wanted to do something, but shot away because I wasn't alone. I was very spiritual at that point, very deep and ingrained with God. My foundation was strong. I already learned how to control the out-of-body experience by then. So it either left as soon as it came, or something happened to me that I don't remember.
Wow.
I currently have a problem with my back. There's like a muscle mass in my back, and I don't know what it is. I've had like doctors and MRI scans. There's something in my back, and if I massage it and like pay attention, if I just focus on it and push it, I can move this thing around. But it doesn't show up on scans. The doctor said, your spine looks fine. But whatever it is, it's causing muscle inflammation, and that inflammation is pushing my spine segments out of place. It hurts. It's a health struggle I have now. I don't know if something was put in my back that night. This is an ongoing struggle. I recently had to get my scans from another hospital. I moved. I'm gonna scan myself again, see if they find something. I'm not sure what happened that night, but so there's been a UFO concentration, ET interest in me. And funny that how it's like demonic entities and these buggers. Why are both of them interested? Or are both of them the same thing? I don't know if you know the podcast Blurry Creatures.
Yes, yeah, I do. Yeah, big fan of that show.
Yeah, man. So it's not that simple. Are they aliens? It's not that simple. Are they demons? It's not that simple. Are they hybrids?
100%.
It's not that simple.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you can get into the topic of inner earth and just what the hell's down there. Jesse Sebatar, and there's another guy that you gotta hear his story. Jesse Sebatar is like, she's met with Roseanne Barr from the Roseanne Show. She's friends with celebrities, and she's also had shows with what's that guy's name? Bloody hell, I can't remember. But there's people taking her very seriously, this Illuminati defector. Now there's another guy, Caleb Jade, and Jesse Sebatar. Caleb Jade and Jesse Sebatar trust each other. They corroborate each other's stories. And Caleb Jade has been down into inner earth, and he gives details of what the habitat is like down there.
Wow. Can you share with us a little bit of what he saw down there?
I could, but I need to get back to the tall grays.
Caleb Jade sorry, man.
Caleb Jade, to give you a quick rundown, he's what you call a mage. A mage is a master of all the schools of magic, but he was also a black ops soldier.
Oh, wow.
And he was used to retrieve artifacts and keep giants in line from breaking surface treaties. He was used to hunt what we would call hybrids, and sometimes rogue magical practitioners, rogue creatures that were in places they were not supposed to be, because they're trying to keep inner earth a secret. There's massive caverns down there. He theorizes. Now, Caleb Jade, Jesse Sebatar, I'm telling you guys, these informants are amazing to listen to, and they drop bombs, but I cannot verify if they're speaking the truth. I'm a dream interpretation expert. I'm like a self-proclaimed expert. I consider myself an expert because I don't find anyone else online that can give me answers. I usually find my own answers, and they bloody work. And I have ways of testing whether I'm hearing God or not. And so far, God has not spoken ill of or told me to abandon Jesse Sebatar or Caleb Jade. So from that perspective, however useful it is as fact or opinion, I can vouch for them. Caleb Jade is like this very, very, he said his training costs up to $1 billion or $1 trillion. It's just like a lot of money has gone into training him. He's one of the highest developed magical practitioners in the world, but he's completely rejected that, and he suffered greatly. His kids have been killed. He's been on the run his whole life since he's left that, and right now he's in an undisclosed location, and his body has just been through so much trauma and damage his whole life that he's like struggling to hold on. But right now, while he's in pain physically, he's trying to teach on this YouTube channel called Aquarius Rising. That's where you can get Caleb's story. He's sharing all the details there. There's a playlist that you can watch. Caleb Jade, Memoirs of an Invisible Soldier. If you listen to his story, bruh, your life will never be the same again. He drops everything, and he drops it in detail. The fauna and the flora down there is mind-blowing. He says that he theorizes that when the flood of Noah happened, there were like these water deposits underground, vast ocean deposits underground that shut up to help flood the surface. Most of the earth was dry land with lakes, but now it's mostly ocean with dry land here and there, 30% dry land. And he said that these deep underground caverns emptied out. And I don't know exactly how, but some of the creatures that were supposed to die in the flood escaped underground to inner earth, or there were already stuff down there. But in any case, with the surface now flooded with the ocean, there were these open caverns that you will not believe. Jesse Sebatar said, beneath the Pentagon, there is a place called Emerald City. It's an underground city. Half of it is like illuminated with like lights and electricity. The other half belongs to giants, literal giants living beneath the Pentagon. And that underground cavern area is so big that it has its own Grand Canyon underground with rainforests and all.
Wow, man.
And that's just one of the bombs Jesse Sebatar drops on you. And but Jesse Sebatar was she moved in the high elite management circles where Caleb Jade was a soldier. He was sent deep into the crap. He was right there in the thick of things, so he can give more nitty-gritty details about the creatures. He says the things down there, the bugs, are large, huge. He said there are humans down there that have been living down there since Noah's time, but they call themselves the Forsaken. They're more barbaric, animalistic. They've lost much of their humanity. They've adapted to live in near darkness. They're just like weird people. There's a whole world beneath our feet, and according to them, this crap's gonna come out. I don't know how the global elites, what they're gonna do. I think they're gonna do either something rash and stupid, maybe trigger nuclear war. But the truth of what's going on in our world, the reality, is coming out now.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how ready the world is to face the stuff. And they say that there are up to 10 generations of human slaves beneath our feet. And these humans are being used for labor. They're being used for food. They're literally using human beings as food for the creatures, because the human body, the human soul, produces an energy because we have the breath of God inside us. We have a strong deposit of, for lack of a better word, magic. And that's part of what the giants, the Nephilim, they need that as a sustenance to help support their immortality. Without consuming us, it's hard for them to hold on to their strength and immortality. I'm paraphrasing.
man.
You'd have to go straight to Jesse Sabatar. You have to go straight to Caleb Jade.
Yeah.
I think some points might be wrong. I'm trying my best to remember
Oh
everything.
man, you're doing an amazing job. It's incredible.
So I've been scratching at these things my whole life because that's where the stupid sleep paralysis entities, they've been pushing me so hard that I start to fake fear. I start to fake vulnerability. I was starting to study them. I was able to leave my body, and I barely punched that bastard. Years later, so I got rid of that thing. That's another story. That specific attacker. I'm going to come back to the tall grays. I want to teach you guys how to kick a sleep paralysis entity first, because I enjoyed that a lot. So the fast forward, I think 2-3 years from that, the thing that was hurting my jaw, there was another thing in my mom's house that kept attacking me there. Mom and dad's divorced, and my family's been attacked, man. My brothers, my mom, my dad, they all have stories. There's some weird focus on my family that I'm trying to get it solved, but they just keep coming and coming. Yeah, let's not trail off. This thing was attacking me at my mom's house, and I don't know what it looked like. I didn't see it, but this thing would come. It had a very big mouth with very like almost herbivore teeth, like stumpy, blocky teeth, and it would put its mouth over my foot, and it would chew my foot, like a herbivore would chew grass. It would chew my foot, and it hurt. It was just gnawing on my foot. So some kind of, I don't know what, but this thing had a severe foot fetish, and it was hurting the shit out of me and was making, sorry. So I get angry.
That's
Let's think
cool,
back.
man.
So just for maybe some people think I'm like a super holy priest. I'm a normal guy with a lot of knowledge that I've built up. Anybody can build up the knowledge they need to understand reality and fight these things. I'm not special. I drink beer. I love beer, but it gives me
Amen
gout.
to that, brother.
You've never experienced hell until you've had gout. I love beer. I love wine. I watch normal shows. I'm a regular guy. I'm not super holy, super special. I don't fast 5 days a week. I'm a regular guy. I've just been experiencing very irregular things. But anyway, fruits of my labor from paying attention to how these things work and paying attention to the out-of-body state, I started to realize that every sleep paralysis attack is an out-of-body experience. And I've already taught myself tricks of how to control the out-of-body state. It's going to happen to me anyway. Anybody judging me, I tried. I anointed myself. I anointed my room. I studied the Bible thoroughly. I had a personal connection with God. These things, just like Paul, these things still came because they sensed God wanted to use me for something. They would still come. And Mr. Footmuncher came, but this time I was ready for him. Well, not ready. I was going to try something. When you are attacked, sleep paralysis, you are paralyzed, right?
Yeah.
Sciencey people will say, oh, it's just an illusion, REM sleep, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so how the hell does REM sleep cause scratches on my body? How the hell does REM sleep dislocate my jaw? How the hell does REM sleep, when I have a sleep paralysis attack, it slaps me? And when I regain control, when I sit up, there's a red hand mark on my arm where I was slapped. How the hell does REM sleep do that, or whatever sleep state? Anyway, so when this thing came at me, I knew that in the out-of-body state, it's hard to move around because you're used to using your muscles and your nerves to move around, but you don't have that. You're in the spirit state. And in the spirit state, it's mostly spirit and mental. There's something with thought. You move and act and do things with thought. Thoughts become matter. Thoughts become manifest materially in that realm. So when the thing was clamping down on my foot, I did what I usually did in the out-of-body state. But like I knew I wasn't completely out of my body, so I tried an experiment. I used thought. I told my right leg, kick, my right leg, like a robotic reaction, left out of my right leg, my spirit leg, left out of my right leg, aimed and kicked this thing in the face. I told my leg kick, and it kicked. I kicked this thing on the face, it let go of my foot. At that moment, I felt so proud of myself. The first time in my life, I kicked a sleep paralysis entity in the face. And while I was celebrating this brief moment mentally, the thing hit me. It hit me back out of spite, out of anger. It hit me, and I could feel its presence, very angry, but also very scared. For some reason, this thing was very angry and very scared at the same time. And I felt it leave very quickly out of the room. And it's like it ran away. It never came back again.
Wow.
Because it pushed me too far.
Yeah.
It realized it screwed up. It realized it taught me how to defend myself. And I was going to have this knowledge for the rest of my life. Enter the new type of sleep paralysis attack. They started attacking me, but they started doing something to the temples of my head. And I started to realize they were trying to destroy my memory. They were trying to destroy the knowledge I've learned up until then. And then I've had to adjust again. So it's this constant battle of adjusting, new attack, adjusting to that new. And now today I'm sleep paralysis free, because they've pushed me to a point where if they push me anymore, I'm going to learn something new. And I'm giving you this information. So I wasn't going to tell you this, but you say you've been attacked as well many times.
Yes.
So if you are being attacked, the moment you are being attacked by a sleep paralysis entity, you are semi out of your body. You actually have the upper hand. If you pray in that state, your prayers are going to be 200% stronger. And in that state, mentally tell yourself, arm, defend me. Give your body parts mental commands. Leg, kick. Arm, defend. You don't have to worry about what direction to move your arm. For some reason, your arm will have its own brain. It will automatically move in the way to defend yourself. It's like you're a bloody hydra. Every limb is like a hydra head. That's what it felt like. It's like you can tell yourself, I've never tried it. That was the only time I've been able to try, because they haven't attacked me like that again. They're not going to give me more training. They changed their tactics. So, but you could, I'm going to joke now, but you could mentally tell your body, do a backflip and do like a flying kick.
Yeah.
But you have to you just send a thought to a body part, and your body part will react and defend. But the best defense is, this is just interesting. If there's a sciencey guy listening to me, a brain science guy listening to me, someone that's studying spirituality and the brain, dude, you can take this information and you can run with it. I'm sure something could be learned. Still, the best defense is call out to the name of Christ. Call out Jesus. That's the best defense if you want the experience to stop. But I was studying them because I knew they were never going to stop.
Yeah. That is what I do when I'm in that situation. That is what I do now.
Yeah, that stops. So that for anyone that doesn't want anything to attack them, just call out the name of Christ. They hate that for some reason. Well, I know why, but if you are there, you haven't read the complete Bible, for some reason, the thing will just take its bags and get lost.
Yeah, there's power.
I think, yeah, there's power, and everyone has a guardian angel or a couple of guardian angels, and the moment you call on Christ's name, you give whatever's protecting you the full authority to act. And angels are extremely powerful beings. There's a story in the Bible. This is why I'm telling people, read the Bible for yourself. There's a story in the Bible where there was this Assyrian army that was like attacking the Israelites. And a single angel came down and killed, I don't know, I'm going to give a rough number now, but it killed 40,000 human beings. It didn't just kill this whole army that was attacking Israel. It cut all the individuals into pieces. So this angel came down like a bloody anime superhero, just went through them blade swinging, and cut the Assyrian army into pieces, chunks. The Israelite army just came upon this insane massacre scene. So that's the power of an angel. It might have been Michael himself. We're not given the name of that angel, but angels are really powerful. They're not naked babies.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you look at type in your on your Google biblically accurate angel, you'll see what kind of horrible power God has at its disposal. But those creatures are there to take care of us, to baby us into a state of reconnecting with God.
Yeah, man.
Tall Gray, sorry, man, you were just speaking about something. I forgot what you said,
That's
but
cool.
the thing, it's gonna what I just said about kicking the thing in the face. It connects to the Tall Grays. So I don't know what thought you just had, but
So
what
that
thought you just
the
have?
the tall greys, that was quite a recent experience, wasn't it?
2019 or 2021, I'm not sure, around
Oh,
about. I
okay.
can find the date for you now, but I have to
Yeah, that's
scroll
cool, man.
down on my
That's
Twitter.
cool. That's cool.
If anyone's interested, all my experiences are on my Twitter page. If you scroll down, you're just gonna see wild stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't take my word for it. I want everybody to, you have to test for yourself, test the spirits, what's that word, man? What's that word that you use to, not interpretation? I can't get, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't get it now.
Oh, that's cool, man. That happens to me
Distinguishing.
very
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah. The weekend is starting, the brain's shutting down.
That's it, man. That's it. We're in party mode. But the
Absolutely.
tall entities that were the greys in
Tall
your
Grays.
room,
Yeah.
can you sort of explain what they look like to us?
You can get I share the visuals on my Twitter too. You can find them. I can
Okay.
send them to you. You can like, so now nobody's seeing my face, but I can send you a buttload of pictures where you can just
Yeah.
like edit, just splash it on there. People have something to look at.
That's cool,
So
man.
it's like I could feel sometimes, I don't know if you can relate, but sometimes you know you're gonna have a sleep paralysis attack. You can just feel
Yeah.
it in the air.
100%.
You're gonna
Yeah.
go to bed, you just know it's gonna come, but you in the back of your mind, you're like, maybe it's not gonna, but you know deep inside they're gonna come for you tonight. It's
Yeah.
like they're already waiting for you.
For
I had
sure.
that feeling, but it was very different. It was very different. I knew something was wrong, but I was so tired, and I think I was going through something personal. Just gonna take a sip here. So, as the English people say, I couldn't be arsed that night.
Yeah.
And I went to bed. And so at some point, it just gripped me. It's like the atmosphere, it just gripped me. I was stuck there. And it's like these I could see they're gray, typical gray aliens, but they're tall. They're taller than me. And they moved insanely fast. It was like they were blurry the way they moved. They were like moving in a blurry way, and they had this weird radiation glow about them. And the way they moved and the glow disoriented me. It had an effect on me. Their presence disoriented me. The way they looked like disoriented me. Their movement disoriented me. The light disoriented me. It was so severe that I completely forgot who I am, what I am. I couldn't even remember who God was, Christ was. They just complete me. I was put in a state. I was like an animal. I was like an animal in total fear and with no ability to think reasonably. And it went on like that for 5 hours, the whole night.
Wow.
And it's like but for some, I was able to, the only thing that I was clearly able to use in defense was no. Psychically, I projected the feeling of no. And that was the only defense. They would come close to me and I would just project no. But I didn't know what no was. I just had this feeling of I don't accept, and I push you away. So you can
Wow.
imagine me just psychically pushing them away. Psychically pushing them away. They wanted to get to my head. my brain, and they wanted to get to my heart. They're in my torso and my brain. They wanted something, I don't know what. And it was just a struggle. And then I would like, sometimes they'd let go, I'd wake up. I'm like, man, what the hell's going on? And then whoop, I'm just back in the struggle. It was like a false awakening. It's like they were projecting a thought into me that it was over, and I was walking around in my room stretching, and I'm like, dear Lord, that was terrible. But then the next moment I'm back in bed, like whoop, and that was like an illusion to help me let my guard down while they were trying to get. It was just a struggle where they're shooting me with illusions, with movements, with pulses of terror, just to disable me long enough to get to my torso and to my mind. And that was, I took the day off. The next day I had these weird scratch. I had this burning on my legs. I called in sick. I slept, and when I woke up, I saw these scratches forming on my legs. I put on some coconut oil, and I'm like, later it just gets worse, and it starts to itch and burn. And I'm like, dear Lord, what did they do? I'm starting to freak out. I'm not sure if I took this. I think I took another day off because I went to the doctor. I wanted to know what the hell. No, I didn't. So there was a second attack. The second attack was exactly the same. Another night of that, 5 hours of hell, same entities, same feelings. I thought I was crazy, or was just a very severe nightmare, a fever dream, but it happened again exactly the same way. A week or a couple of weeks later, it happened again. At that point, when I broke free, I actually went to work. I shouldn't have. I was so drained. And I wanted to not kill myself, but I wanted to die, because the agony of the experience, it was a whole new level. Because at that moment, I remember all my sleep paralysis experiences. I already went through 300 of them since 2006, and now this level of attack, and I'm living right next to an air base, which kind of makes sense. Some air bases have subterranean installations.
Yeah.
And my mind is already putting two and two together, and like, I'm bloody close to these things if they're stationed at that airbase. And I'm panicking. I want to die because I cannot go through this again. I already reached a point where I control the out of body state, but now I have to deal with this. And I was dealing with it in a sense. I think I started drinking more than I usually drink. I was ready to give up, man. But then it happened a third time. Now, the third time, it wasn't the whole night. The third time, it was just like I couldn't sleep that night. I kept waking up because I felt them. And it was just like kind of quiet, but something was very wrong. And at some point, they just came at me fast. And I wanted to react. But then the next thing happened. For about a minute, 20 seconds to a minute, I was teleported to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different locations. I was just rapidly teleported. Oh, so another thing that I forgot to mention is, while this attack is going on with the tall grays, my room would phase with some kind of facility somewhere. My surroundings would be my room, and then it would be a facility, and then my room and a facility. Sometimes I'd be fighting them off, and I'm on a metallic table in a facility. Sometimes I'm fighting them off, and I'm in my bedroom. The past two times. But this night, they just suddenly came at me, and they rapidly teleported me to hundreds of locations. And as I'm being rapidly teleported, I'm losing myself, my soul and my mind. I'm losing it slowly. It felt like parts of me were being stripped apart, and I was losing myself completely. And as this was happening, they were reaching inside me. They were about to do. I felt these bloody tall grays. I couldn't see it. It's just colors and flashes. I'm on a submarine, then I'm on a mountain, then I'm under the ground, then I'm on Mars, then I'm on Venus, then I'm in space, then I'm in a jungle. I'm just teleporting to these places like rapidly, ba 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 ba. And while this teleportation crap is happening, I can feel the tall grays doing something, and they reached my core, and they were trying to do something to my core. And at that very moment, it felt, when they reached deep enough, Christ was already there waiting for them. So that little Sunday school idea of Christ being in your heart, that's very literal. He was waiting for them there, and he pushed them back. It was just like, felt like light, just like coalescing inside me and pushing outward toward them. But it was the first time in my life that I felt God yelling at me and saying, stop the experience. They are poisoning you with radiation.
Wow.
I felt God's Spirit tell me, stop the experience because they are poisoning you with radiation. At that moment, I remembered who I was, what God was, and I remembered all my tricks with the out-of-body state. I initiated all my defense mechanisms. I called on Christ. I did all of that, and I was able to will myself back into my body, but I was out of it. I had to take another day off. Luckily, I think that was on a Thursday. I could take the Friday off. Luckily, but I was visibly sick for about 2 weeks, and it felt like radiation sickness.
Wow, man.
And the rash on my legs was slowly developing, and around about that time I also had my fill with a rash, and I went to the hospital. I'm like get sort this out, and I started to do more intense spiritual warfare just to like seal my room, my place where I was sleeping, to seal it off from whatever the hell was attacking me. So that's my tall gray story. And if I'm going to, and for a year or so, I was like completely dumbfounded. This was something new. There was no UFO. There was some Hallmark ET encounter stuff wasn't in this. I read online and I heard that the tall grays were exceptionally strong psychically, which made a lot of sense. They were kind of like a leader caste. The little grays are more like drones. They're actually cyborgs. They're not they're like not sentient, but they're intelligent or something like that. They're more like drones, whereas the tall grays have more human DNA in them. They are actually entities that have their own will. They have psychic ability, a stronger soul. And that's what I know about the tall grays. And also this phasing of 2 locations, thanks to Jessie Sebatar. She was disclosing stuff, and she mentioned that there is this magic that with a special room or a special device, it is possible to temporarily phase 2 physical locations together. And when those 2 locations are phased together, if I'm in Africa and you're in England, it's possible to exchange items with each other. It's like a temporary.
Wow, man.
It's just like the Zoom. You are there, I'm here, but we can meet here. It's
Yeah.
like a kind of like a psychic, magical, technological Zoom session where 2 places overlap, and you're actually able to physically interact with someone that's far away. And I thought I was crazy with the tall grays, but when she said that, I'm like, that's exactly what I experienced. And if you are going to be attacked by something severe, and you are even just a baby Christian, and something strong is going to come at you, but you have a baseline understanding of your authority in God as you are a godling. You are like a mini version of God. You are not a God yourself. That's what Satan tells people. Oh, you are your own God. That's BS. There is a God, but you are like you're like a mini me. If you just have basic foundational relational experience with God, even the strongest demon, whatever, Archon, is going to have to deal with God directly because he is in there. He's waiting. And that was very surreal experience for me to discover how deep God can be embedded in your soul and defend you like that. But the reason why God shouted at me, because subliminally I was trying to farm the tall grays for information, just like I farmed the sleep paralysis entities. I didn't
Yeah.
realize it. It was like muscle memory. And God was, with that one shout, I realized, oh crap, I'm really in danger now. And I need to stop this. And God was letting me know, listen, you are actually now trying to farm them for information. You cannot farm them for information because you are being poisoned with radiation. And after listening to Caleb Jade, I realized that these entities, they can do something that is called, they can soul trap you in crystals. They can rip your soul out, put it in a matrix of a crystal, and trap your soul there. That's one of the things that these entities can do. They have that technology, magic, or a mixture of both. They have that. That's something they do on a regular basis. These crystals are part of the fuel used by the advanced tech that we see flying around, the UAPs. The
Interesting.
weapons, the weapons and tech these things have, their dimensional travel capability, are powered by what Caleb Jade calls soul gems. Maybe they were trying to rip my soul. Maybe they were just trying to maybe kill me, make me brain dead, trap my soul. What's the other possibility? If I let it go on further, I would have ended up brain dead. My girlfriend
Yeah.
would have found me just like in a vegetative state. My body's still in the bed, but my soul trapped somewhere. And they say that souls cannot expire. They are eternal. So if you trap one or enough of them in a gem, apparently some gems can keep souls. I'm not an expert. This is what I've heard. They trap people's souls, and sometimes these soul trapped individuals are in a vegetative state. They get put into mental asylums, and that's where they're left. And as long as that body is functioning, that soul keeps powering that crystal.
Wow.
That's what Caleb Jade says. There's a lot of people that are in vegetative state that are actually victims of this
Yeah.
practice. And as long as that body is functional, there's like a weird tether between the body and that soul to keep that soul powered. You can kill the body, but then that soul trapped, I think, will have less potency. So it's better to just be a cruel bastard and keep that vegetated person alive while you are siphoning their soul until their body finally gives out. Maybe they were trying to do that with me. Maybe they were just trying new technology on me. I don't know. That's all I have with the tall grays. But
Yeah.
they are a nasty, nasty breed. I think the tentacle mass and the tall grays were two of my worst experiences.
Yeah, man.
But they couldn't do it anymore because I reached the point in my spiritual development where God told me, okay, they will never be a problem again. He
Yeah.
told me specifically, directly, the whole ET alien thing will never be a problem for you ever again. There's something that happened in my authority in the spiritual world or in my personal development where I'm safe from them now. They will break. So heaven, reality has like a legal system, and if Satan wants to do something, he has to follow the rules. Also, God follows his own rules. He will never break his own rules. But right now, if I'm attacked in that capacity again, according to what I'm hearing from God, they will break some rule, and that will cost Satan dearly. So it's better for them to just leave me alone and never send that level ET to me again. I'm immune to them until things change, until I screw up. If I screw up in my personal life enough, maybe it can give them leeway to affect me again. I don't know. But that's as far as I've thought about the tall grays.
Wow, man. Wow. X, this has been incredible talking to you, man. It really has. Wow. You said we was
I
going to go
hope I
deep, and
helped
we have
someone.
gone deep. Yeah, I'm sure you have, man. You've helped me, and I'm sure you've helped a lot of others as well. So, thank you very much, man.
Don't have to suffer. There are ways. If you just like open your mind, open your heart, and just swallow your pride and give God a go, there are ways to be safe and live a normal life again.
Yeah, for sure.
Or if you desire, there's a way to go deeper into it and help out the kingdom against whatever the hell's trying to enslave the planet.
Well, we are for sure in a big spiritual battle all the time, but especially right now, it feels like it. Man, man, incredible stuff.
And it's like I'm not a super expert. I've had a lot more experiences that I can share at a cryptid encounter, but I'd really recommend people go, especially go to Skywatch TV. Uh, Listen everything you can that Jesse Sebatar teaches and everything that Caleb Jade teaches.
Yeah.
There are there are people, they have very powerful enemies. So don't be surprised if you see articles and stuff attacking them. I mean, there's like let's say who's a good Jordan Peterson's a good guy, and you see smear articles on him all the time. You're
Yeah.
gonna encounter that with regards to Caleb Jade and Jesse Sebatar, but especially Jesse Sebatar. If it wasn't for her, I'd still be struggling with sleep paralysis attacks. Ever since I listened to her and followed her advice, I've never had a sleep paralysis attack again for about 2 years now. I'm free.
Yeah.
Finally, I'm free. It was a 15-year struggle, but now I'm free.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Have we got time for, because you said about a cryptid encounter, and I need to hear it now, man. And I'm sure the listeners
I've
would
never
like to.
shared that. I've never
Oh,
shared that with anyone, so you're going to be a first.
oh man, let's go. Thank you very much.
It's kind of like a gray area because I'm not sure what the hell has happened. And maybe someone's excited, you know, you're gonna look up the sources that I've shared. You're gonna play around with the internet and learn how to leave your body because you want to have my story in your own life. You're asking for trouble. My one brother inexplicably went insane, and he was found in a field beside the road, horribly mutilated. And the cops didn't let my dad see my brother because it was just too vile. It's my older brother. It's a little bit hard to talk about.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
So I'm not sure if it was my fault
No.
because I'm talking about this stuff and I'm doing my YouTube and my Twitter, and I don't know if he was targeted. And my younger brother, he was complaining about nightmares and stuff, things happening to him, but I didn't catch on. And right now, my younger brother has went insane the exact same way. And it's like, and my family is like, you know, crushed. And it's like it's a severe attack. Because I'm sharing these things and these ideas and stories. It's very easy for someone listening. So his two brothers went insane, so this guy's insane too. So that's the end of the story. And I think maybe it's an attack. It's a preemptive attack to discredit me, maybe attacking my brothers. Both of them went insane the same way. So I think the same individual came into contact with them. Because they both talk about a policeman and a strong drug. And that's just before they went insane. Someone has fed them something, maybe like, I don't know, a severe type of meth. And the way my brother died, we know who the killer is. The killer got out after 2 months. So it feels like a hit. And my dad got death threats and stuff. And while this was going on, the tall grays were also attacking me. So I had to deal with all of this at the same time. So I'm not sure what the hell's going on there, but it's like, don't go into something like this unprepared. Oh, you hear Bigfoot might be in London Park, so you're gonna go and look for Bigfoot there. People die. People can die. Oh, you want to play with a Ouija board. People die if you dig into a realm that you're not ready for. With regards to the cryptid, we were in a holiday place. And at this time, I was already experiencing sleep paralysis. And I was in deep spiritual warfare, just trying to control whatever the hell is happening to me. And for the record, I've went to psychologists, both in South Africa and here, just to double check if I'm okay. Nothing. They've given me medication. I've used the medication. Still, the experiences continued. And I used ways to test if this was physically happening to me, like the scratchy rashes on my legs, one of them. And the way my experiences are corroborated by other experts in the UAP, ET, paranormal field, I knew that, okay, so it's not just me, it's other people. And like I'm talking to you, I'm sharing sensations, and you can say, yeah, man, I felt that too. So I know this is real, for the record. But we were on a holiday place, and it's like it's on the west coast of South Africa. There's no big animals in this area. None. Nothing. It's like this really bushy, like short bushes everywhere. You can see for miles. If there's anything as big as a medium-sized dog, you will see it coming. So it's by the beach. So we go sit on the beach, rocks. It's like the moon's out. It's beautiful. We're sitting there. We're smoking cigarettes. Was no ganja, no drugs that night, nothing. It's just me and my little brother, still sane by this time, still normal. And we're there. And again, for some reason, when a cryptid shows up or anything that is unnatural, there's this, all the bugs, everything in the area just shuts up. Everything gets silent. It's like everything that has a sense of defense, a sense of self-preservation, just either becomes very quiet or leaves the area. That happened, and my brother and I, we look at each other and I'm like, do you hear that? And the thing is, we're not hearing anything. It just went dead silent, and we're confused, like, why is this happening? So we have this weird feeling. We're getting goosebumps, and we're looking behind us, like, so it's South Africa. It's famous for crime. It's famous for murder, rape, and all that stuff. So we're like on the alert, like we're looking for some kind of guy that's stalking us, because that's what it feels like. We feel something looking at us, and then we see it. We see like the typical glowing eyes of a large cat. So this is South Africa. At the moment, we're freaking out because we're like, oh shit, it's a leopard or something. But then I was thinking, we weren't talking. We were like dead silent because we were at the precipice of pissing ourselves. We saw this thing, and these eyes were moving through these very low brushes, low bushes. In Afrikaans, it's called fynbos. It's not something that grows very tall, especially on the west coast. It's very low. But this thing had at least the head size of a lion or leopard, but it's staying in the brush. The only thing we can see is it's like the holiday resort has a lot of lights. So the little bit of light is reflecting off the eyes. It has a large head, a little bit larger than my head and your head. Its eyes are locked on us, and it's moving through the brush effortlessly, but it's sailing like a snake. It has a big head, and it's on land, but it's moving through this very low brush like a snake. Too fast. The other thing is we don't hear it in the brush. We don't hear it. It's close enough that we're supposed to hear, you know?
Yeah.
But we don't. We just see this thing locking eyes with us, and immediately in the back of my head, I'm already starting to pray. I dare not pray verbally, because if it's really a leopard that's just crawling low, maybe it's gonna agitate the thing, it's gonna leap at us. And this thing's moving slowly through the brush. At the back of my head, I start praying, and for some reason, the atmosphere starts to lift, and this thing stops. It's still locking its eyes on us, glowing us like a yellowy, typical cat,
Yeah.
Cat or wolves. I'm not sure what a canine or a cat feline's eyes glow, but it's like a greenish. It alternated between a yellow sheen and a light green sheen. And this thing just stopped. And I think my brother, he's a bit more of a like let's brawl first, ask questions later. He starts picking up rocks and throwing it at this thing. And it moves a little bit away, but it comes forward again, like it's been taunting. I tell my brother, stop it. Because in the spiritual legal system of reality, if you attack something, or if you if you trespass into the second dimension, or if you insult Satan, then you give Satan or the demon or whatever legal authority to react. If you attack something, you give it authority to attack you. That's a dynamic in the spiritual world. And already at that point, I knew there was something weird going on, because the moment I started to pray, it stopped. And it just like looked at us more intently. You could feel the attention. You could feel the attention of this thing. And then it started to back up, and the eyes stopped shining, and it was just brush again. We're here, but the only thing you hear is the ocean waves, but everything else is quiet. And then the sound of the bugs came back, just the crickets and everything. And we're still pissing scared. So we're calling our dad, and we're telling him there's something big here. It's stalking us. We don't know. We're throwing stones, but like we don't know if we're safe. Everything feels weird, and we told him to come from the other side and throw rocks as he's approaching and shout, because this thing's maybe it's gonna feel like surrounded if it's a leopard or something. At this moment, we're not thinking straight. We just want to get back to our room at the resort. Later, I recount and I think about it, and I'm like, it must have been like a big snake or something, like maybe some water thing sailing through the brush. And at that point, I already experienced a UFO encounter, the TR3B, that black triangle. I experienced that thing in 2005, and I already experienced demonic stuff and sleep paralysis at that point. So at this, I was already like analyzing, interpreting, like just compiling this thing that happened in my head. And I would like to know what my brother thought about that night. He hasn't really told anyone, because some people react that way. You push it out of your mind.
Yeah.
I'm trying to minister to him, to fix his life with God, blah blah blah. He just rejected it, and now recently he's went insane the same way as my elder brother, and it's really hard, just managing him. We don't know what's wrong. We don't know what's happened. And I don't know if I can get the story from him. I'd like to talk to him about it again. But to me, it was a big head, and it was way too low in the brush to have been a leopard.
Yeah.
And there's no big canines on the west coast of South Africa that I know of. And it moved like a snake, and it didn't disturb the brush around it. I don't know what the hell that thing was.
Wow, man.
That was the one cryptid. The other cryptid was so that's like, I'd say that qualifies like as an animal cryptid encounter, if it was physical animal. The other cryptid, I'd say, I wouldn't call it a cryptid, because it's like blends more with second heaven stuff. But I was physically awake and was able to pinch myself and breathe when I saw it. The other thing that I saw was an imp that was in my room, but like a sentry. And I don't know if you want to talk about that as well, but that was another time when I was faced with something physically right in front of me, right there. I was able to study it in detail, because it did not realize I was able to see it. But I could see the texture of its skin, the color of its eyes, details of its body, its size, and everything. And I saw it 3 times the same night. There was just an imp in my room. You know what an imp looks like.
How can you describe it for us?
This thing is also on my Twitter. I think if you type in imp, search on my Twitter thread, you'd be able to see the imp. But if I can, like, for your listeners, if you cross a monkey with let's say you take a monkey, you make it hairless, and you give it the skin of a frog, kind of like a wet skin. It has like an amphibian skin to it. It had wings, and it has like a typical, like a small monkey skull, but of course hairless. And its eyes were like a dead a dead white, a milky dead white color with a faint glow. Not bright shiny glow, but it had a glow to it. And these little what do you call those front teeth? You call them canines?
Yeah.
I could see the little teeth. It had two little teeth there. What happened basically, there was during the time that I was still learning to control the out of body state and to defend myself. And while I was doing it, I just felt like something felt off. And I was still kind of awake, and I knew I was going to open my eyes and ruin the state of readiness. But I knew, okay, it was time to get up anyway, because that feeling, I know that a sleep paralysis attack is coming. So it's better to sit up, go drink a glass of water, maybe put some worship music on, maybe just don't sleep for the rest of the night. Anything that I need to do. At that time I was inexperienced, but because I was sleeping in that state, I don't know what it did, but I think my spiritual sight was opened, and I stopped focusing, and I kind of sat up a little bit, and then I saw it sitting by the window. There was an imp sitting by my window, chilling there, a little bit hunched, and it was staring through the window, was just staring at the moon. It was just chilling there. At first I thought it was a cat, but it's like 3 seconds, I knew this wasn't a cat, because I started to study the skin, and I saw the moonlight just bouncing off the skin. I could see it had kind of like a wet amphibian skin, and I was looking at this thing, and in my mind I'm like, oh my crap, that's an imp, because I could see the wings on its back. And I'm just looking at this thing because I know it's like what I'm seeing now isn't something that people usually get to see. Right now, then my what do you call that? My inner wildlife narrator kicked in, and I was just like studying this remarkable creature.
Wow.
I was just looking at this thing, and I was just like, that's an imp, and I'm looking at it. So I'm breathing, I'm checking my breathing. Okay, I can breathe. Underneath the covers of my bed, I'm pinching my leg. Okay, so I can pinch my leg. But then it starts to dawn on me, like there's something in my room. I don't know what it is. It looks demonic. I don't know what it can do to me physically or magically. I don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of seconds or minutes. So I start to hyperventilate, like I start to become really scared. And when my breathing became, not hyperventilate, basically my breathing became irregular. And when I started breathing irregular, the thing turned its head slowly toward me to see what was going on. So at that moment, at the back of my head, I realized this was some kind of sentry. I don't know how many of these things are out there, but I realized that this thing was, well, no, not really. The second or third time I saw it the same night, I realized it was a sentry. But anyway, it turned its head, and I was able to see its eyes, its milky, dead, semi-glowing eye, like a typical cave creature's eyes. You know,
Yeah.
those fish that are blind in some
Yeah.
caves, that milky, dead eyes, like the eyes are useless. That's what its eyes look like. Like it was living in darkness most of the time. But then it looked at me, and I looked at it, and its jaw dropped, like it was surprised. It realized
Wow.
I was seeing it.
Wow, man.
It was shocked. I was shocked. And what's the first thing that it did? At that moment, it leapt, it flew, and it immediately, it let out something. I don't know if it was a psychic projection or this thing's aura, but it paralyzed me. Hello, sleep paralysis. It was able to paralyze me.
Wow.
Somehow. I don't know what it did, but I was it's like in one motion. It leapt, flew, and came. It sat behind me. I wasn't able to see it. I wasn't able to do anything. I was paralyzed, and I just lay there, and the paralysis eased away. I started to pray, and I did whatever I knew at that point to ease the to ease the symptoms of the paralysis. And once the paralysis wore off, I shot out the bed and I looked around. I saw nothing.
Wow,
So I'm
man.
still on the fence at that time. That was like 2008, 2009, I think. I was still on the fence, not sure what was happening to me with regards to sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Then I went to I got a drink of water. I'm like, what the hell happened? I'm like, brushed it off as like a really vivid hallucination. And I went back to bed. And I slept. And that feeling came back where it's wrong. And basically the same thing happened. I went into defense mode to just have that ready state of being just outside of my body. Took some time. It was easier. Took about 30 minutes, but the feeling came back. Something was wrong. I opened my eyes again, and it sat at the same spot, staring at the moon. It was chilling again.
Yeah.
It thought that, crisis avoided. And I looked at it, and I knew what to do. Like, we just stay calm, just study it. Immediately, it jerked its gaze toward me, and this time its mouth was closed. It wasn't surprised. Yeah, I think it kind of suspected this would happen. And at that moment, it flew toward me. For some reason, I was more resistant to the paralysis. I was too scared to move. It flew, and this time it came down and sat to the left of me, and it did the strangest thing. It made a sound in my left ear that sounded like I don't want people to laugh now. I'm going to try and recreate the sound that it made, but it made this kind of sound like it made like a booping sound, like moop 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 moop. But that sound filled my entire skull, filled my entire being, and it was putting me to sleep with that sound.
Wow.
The sound that it was making in my left ear was kind of not paralyzing my body, but putting me to sleep.
So
And
interesting, man.
that's where I realized, but this is a bit too detailed. This is a bit too unique. And this is where I started to really freak out. And it was putting me to sleep, but I was like, with a little bit, 15% of my body control I had, and I pulled myself out of bed. I can't remember now, but I think I forced myself to fall out of bed and just kind of knock me awake. It worked. I looked behind me. It wasn't there. So that's like twice now. I got up. I drank water. I think I went to the living room. I just sat there. But now my interest was piqued. This time I'm just going to go to bed. Maybe I'm just going to fall asleep. Nothing's going to happen. Anyway, go back to sleep. And I'm on my side now because I thought maybe sleeping on my back was causing this crap to happen. So I'm on my side and I feel it. The feeling comes back. And I roll on my back to be able to look at the window again. And this time it's already facing me. It's it has its little tiny clawed hands is like in front of it. Its legs are in a ready jump position, and it's facing, we're making eye contact with each other. And this thing leapt into the air and it flew. I was paralyzed again. For some reason, it was able to paralyze, but I was able to move my eyes. It flew around the room. I think it just wanted to fly away. But for some reason, I think I prayed before I went to bed this time. It wasn't able to escape my room. For some reason, it couldn't physically leave the walls of my room or the ceiling. It was like a box that it was trapped in. It flew around my room, flew around, but then it did something interesting. As I paid attention to it, it started to stretch. The imp, it was like I give you a very good illustration on my Twitter what it exactly looked like to me, but this greenish, froggish, monkeyish imp started to stretch. But as it started to stretch, as it was circling my room, it started to stretch, it started to blacken, and it became like a stretched out black shadow that was just circling my room. And the more it was circling, it was going faster until eventually this shadow blended with the darkness and it just disappeared.
Wow.
It used some kind of technique that it was able to use to phase into the second heaven and just leave. Then I got up again. I'm like, dear Lord, what's happening? and I went to bed again. I was hoping that it would happen again, because at this time I wanted like to punch it or to try something, but it didn't come back again. I haven't seen that thing since.
Wow, man.
That's my first like real. So I could hear the flap of its wings. I could feel its breath on my ear as it was doing that booping sound. There were just so many physical sensations to it. This was not a dream.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
was a very unique encounter.
Yeah. And
And
this was
I
an
felt so.
entity between our worlds as well.
This was a second heaven entity, but for some reason, I think it was physically there, and I'm not supposed to see it, but I was able to see it. But then again,
Wow.
I'm going to double back to that thing where sometimes they appear like this, or they do this intentionally to lure you into the occult.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Is it a sentry to keep an eye on me, to keep an eye on my spiritual development? Is it there to intimidate me? Was it there to lure me deeper into the occult? I didn't know. I felt stupid for years because it's an imp. It's something you commonly see in old English tomes of the description of an imp, like a gargoyle thing. But this was Hollywood detail. It looked like a physiologically possible creature to me. I was able to see it in detail. And in the book of Revelations, it says that the abyss will be opened up and inner earth things will come out and to the surface. And I hope I'm dead when that happens. I hope maybe the rapture happens. I hope I never have to deal with that kind of crap, because
Yeah.
this was enough for me. This thing was about 30 centimeters tall. I think if it stood upright, it would have maybe been 50 centimeters tall, but it was hunched over. Its wingspan was about almost, I wouldn't say double, a little bit less than double of its body length size. How the hell it was able to fly like that? It was breaking it was breaking some rules of
Yeah.
reality. I know some laws of science. What do you call those?
Physics. The laws of physics.
Yeah, it was breaking some physics laws by the way
Wow.
because it would be. It had big wings, like a bird that size would have trouble flying, but the way it flew, it was very weird. It wasn't fully flapping its wings; it was flapping it in a weird way, just enough so that it's able to stay airborne. But there's a lot of things about that night that's still like a question mark in my mind. But that's like that's gonna stay with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, man, for sure.
So there's a
Wow.
good excuse for you to pray up, anoint your house, anoint
Yeah.
you never know what the hell is there.
100%, man. I think there's a lot going on around us that we can't always see, and we sometimes get clips and we sometimes see things. But man, X, thank you so much for sharing your experiences tonight. I feel like there's more that we can talk about in the future, so I'd love to get you back on at some point. But
Yeah,
man, just thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. It's hard talking about this sort of stuff, but I really appreciate it, man. Thank you. Can you
anytime, bro.
tell the listeners where they can find you?
Just find me on Twitter, X now, Channel Exodus. Just type it in there at Channel Exodus. I should pop up. You can, if something new is gonna happen to me, you're gonna see it. There was a time when I don't know why, but my eyes opened up and I saw a mothership floating over my city.
Wow.
And that was the other time in my life I nearly shat myself.
Wow,
And
man.
it's like, and for me to know that a thing of that size is floating around and it's not disturbing, the surroundings. If they have that kind of tech, just like I don't know what's around the corner. I don't know
Yeah.
what the world's going to look like 5 years from now, because things are ramping up.
Yeah, man, for sure.
And the size, the bloody size of that thing. And I shared it with Jessie Sebatar, and someone on her Twitter. She's very busy. Sometimes you're able to communicate with her, but someone else pointed me to a discussion where she said that she was very deep in the Illuminati and the secret tech they have. She commented in one of her shows that there is an island, like the size of an island. An island can be pretty big. There's an island-sized ship that they have, like a type of mothership. And because I was sharing it on her Twitter, I'm like asking people, like, is this possible?
Yeah.
Is there a ship? And they said, yeah. Oh, Jesse talked about that the other week. Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, you saw one of them.
Wow,
So,
man.
but I can't tell you why my eyes opened up. There's a story in the Bible where I think Elijah and his servant is somewhere, and the servant is scared because Elijah is surrounded by an army, and then Elijah's not scared, and the servant asks Elijah, "Why are you not scared?" And then Elijah prays, "Lord, open his eyes so that he can see." And the servant's spiritual eyes were open. I think we all have that ability. I
Yeah.
think because God is merciful, he's blocking most of the war that we are in. He's blocking off because it's not our fight. The Bible says this fight is God's. We need to trust him. So I think God decided to open my eyes that morning, and what I saw disturbed me so greatly that I looked away. Because you listen to blurry creatures and you're like, oh man, if that happened to me, I would like run to that Bigfoot, and I would like. But if you're in that situation, you're so scared
Yeah.
with the vastness of that thing, that I looked away and I didn't want to see any more of it, because I felt like we don't have anything that can fight with that.
Yeah.
Like our jets and bombs, we have nothing that can go up against that. And that thing is in our atmosphere. And God knows how many of those things are in our atmosphere.
Yeah, man.
And I made a visual of that mothership. It was a massive, big black triangle. Pyramid.
Wow.
Mile
Man.
by was it I think it was 3 by 3 kilometers each side, that the diameter.
Wow.
Was-
Where did you see this?
if I say where I saw it, I'm kind of disclosing my location.
Ah,
So,
okay. Yeah, no problem. You haven't got to say where that was.
but
wow,
I put a
man.
visual on Twitter, so you guys can find me there. I also have a
Check that
channel,
out.
Exodus, on YouTube. My YouTube sucks because I'm not a video editor, and mostly I put my experiences there so that I can get them out of my system, because a lot of these experiences are traumatizing.
Yeah.
And my YouTube started as a way of therapy and just a way for me to remember stuff, because the sleep paralysis entities, the more they attacked me, the more I lost my memory. And actually, tonight is a miracle. You can ask my wife. I often have problems speaking long sentences and recalling things. But tonight, speaking to you, I haven't had really a lot of trouble.
Yeah, man. You've been incredible, man.
There's something helping me to just like speak in a nice flowing fashion tonight, which is
Yeah.
very strange as well, because like these things, they rock you and they stay
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah, man. Well, you've spoken amazingly tonight, man. So I appreciate it so much. Yeah, just thank you so much. I would love to get you back on at some point and talk more, because I feel like there's so much more we can talk about. But I'd
Same.
recommend everyone to check you out on X and YouTube. You're doing a great service by putting this information out there, man. So thank you very much.
And if you have an experience, you can talk to me there, share it there. I will repost it. We can connect where our experiences overlap, and it's just good for people, especially on X. Right now, it's a free speech platform. People can connect the dots, and things are coming out. Things are coming out. Things are ramping up. And
100%,
again,
man.
go check out Caleb Jade and go check out Jesse Sebatar. Amazing stuff. They're gonna blow your mind more than I'm able to blow your mind.
Wow. That's saying something,
Really
brother.
intense.
Wow.
Really intense. And they give you better advice than I'm able to give you to deal with these things if they target you. If you have some kind of bloodline that's powerful, and abilities you can't explain, things you see, you either want to control it or get away from it. You just go follow another guy that can help you get rid of dark stuff. Is Dan Duval. Dan Duval is a nice guy, a really good guy that helps people get free of things hounding them and attaching to them.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, brother. I'm sure we're going to get you back on soon, and I'm looking forward to it. Keep staying safe, and yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep up the great work.
You too. Can I call you Tom? I think your name is Thomas. Thomas, right?
Tommy. Yeah, Tommy.
Tommy.
Tom.
You too, Tommy. I think we're kind of like in the same boat. Just listening, hearing how much you've been attacked in the same fashion. I think there's a calling on your life, and again, after this is done, pray up. Just pray some special protection. I don't know if you have a kid or a wife or who you're living with. Just like seal yourself, anoint yourself with oil, cover yourself, because I've been on 2 other shows and weird stuff happened to the people that I've talked to in the past.
I'm gonna be praying straight after this for sure, man. That's for sure. But
bit intense, so also go to the pub for a pint.
Yeah, and I'll do that as well.
Awesome.
X, thank you so much, brother. I hope you have a great week.
Thank you too, man.
And I will be in touch very soon, man. Thank you very much.
Cool, dude.
Something's in your room. You can't move. You can't speak. It's a horrible, horrible feeling.
You know, you're looking out into the darkness and then you see a figure, but it's darker than the darkness.
I just get this like really creepy feeling, and I see this this like shadowy, demon-looking figure in the front seat of the car.
She used to come into my room at night and stand right by my bed, and I just was petrified.
I remember I saw something fly by my bedroom window. We heard the bathroom door shut. So then we looked out my bedroom window down the hallway, and the bathroom door was wide open.
So we came around the bend and we saw eye shine. This thing stood up. I mean, it stood up. And it had high pointed ears. It had a snout, had a long arm, and it grabbed the deer.